All right, and I just want to let you know if it looks like I'm not looking at the camera, it's because I have all of you over here on my computer screen while I am up at the board. So this is the same model board that you have. The only difference is this one is 55 inches, and I believe you guys have either the 65 or the 76. Jimmy could probably tell you what size is in your room, but you can turn around and look at it. You don't really need to have.
They're all 65.
They're the 65s. Okay. So I have the small one just because in my little studio here, I can't really fit the big ones nicely. In terms of the technology, though, they are identical. So I just wanted to make you aware that I might look really big compared to my board. It's just because my board is tiny compared to yours. All right, so when you turn on your board in the morning, it probably looks something like what I have on my screen. This is the Android. Oh, I should probably introduce myself first. See, I go right into the technology. Hi, everyone. My name is Cori. I am from Visual Sound. We are partners with the school district to help get you guys up and running with your smart boards, with the different softwares that can work with it, and all of that fun stuff. So right here is the MX smart board, which is what you guys have purchased. And we're going to kind of just do a quick walkthrough. I believe we are planning to come out again in August and do a more thorough hardware session at that point. So today is really just the software, get you guys excited, give you guys some ideas of things you might be able to do. And that way, when you have your planning sessions over the summer, you kind of already have some ideas coming at you. When you look at the main screen, like I said, this is the built-in Android. Right now, my computer is plugged in, but I am not connected to my computer. I could unplug it to show you the cables come out. Your boards are mounted on the wall, so your cables are going to probably stay back there no matter what anyway. On your Android device, you have a couple of things I want you to notice. One, you're always going to have a clock. Two, you have a section called Recent. This is going to show all the files that you've used most recently. You'll notice I have notebooks, I have browsers, I even have, it says HDMI 2 because that's my computer right there. Then under Favorites, typically it will default to the whiteboard, the browser, and the player. If you want to add other favorites, you can click here where it says Apps. And where you have apps, you have the option that says Add. You can search for any program that you tend to use, but I want you to be aware it's a bit of a misnomer. The program, they call it an app, but it's not an app. It's just a bookmark. It's a shortcut. So for example, if I click on Add, and right here where it says Search Collections, if I type in Kahoot, because we all know everyone loves Kahoot in the classrooms, you'll see it brings up a couple of options, and I can click the plus sign on Kahoot. And now, when I go back to my apps and they load, I will see Kahoot is listed. And if I click on that little star, now when I go back to my home screen, I have Kahoot bookmarked. But if I click on that Kahoot bookmark, it asks me to open it in my browser. As I said, it is just a bookmark. It is not going to actually like open up an app and download a program on your board. It is just a bookmark to the browser. That is apparently loading very slowly. There we go. So as you can see, it's just opening up my browser. So you can put any shortcuts you want there. You just search them. Again, that is Apps. And then you would click the plus sign to search. Once you have added one to your apps page, you would click on the star to make it a bookmark. All right, so the next thing I want to show you is the whiteboard itself. So I'm going to click on whiteboard and it's going to open up. Now, right now, when you are using the Android, you can only use the pens. It is currently in the beta testing that you will be able to use your finger to write on it. My board is actually set to beta. So this one is not set to beta. So if you put your hand on it, you'll see it just becomes the mouse. It's going to be a little more obvious if I write something. So if I have that squiggle, You can see that my hand is the mouse. I'm just moving the whiteboard around, but I can't write with my hand. When you're plugged into the computer, though, that totally changes. So this is only the Android that is pens only for the pens. Besides having your pen choices over here on the side, you also have a selector tool. Oops. There we go. It was a little finicky letting me select. When you select, that's going to let you resize. It's going to let you rotate. It's also going to give you the option to delete. You have your image insert. This is going to be a Bing safe search. So for those of you that don't know Bing, Bing is Microsoft's equivalent to Google. So you can come in here, the keyboard pops up. Let's say I want to look up a smile. If I could spell smile correctly. So I can pull up a picture of a smile, double click, and you'll see that it added it to my whiteboard. Now I can take my pen, I can give him some red eyebrows, all that. You can't really see the red eyebrows in the camera, but I can give him anything I want. I can give him some, like, some hair, anything that you want to draw in those pictures, you can draw. The image search also has a selection for video. When you click on a video, it's going to just put a shortcut to the video. So you get your little thumbnail. You can move it around. Now that I have my thumbnail, I could write on the screen. I can say, watch this. And then if I click on it to play, it goes full screen. And I don't know what this video is, so this could actually be a little weird. Or my internet just really doesn't want to work today on the board. But if you double click on the videos, normally they will, there we go, it's starting now. It will start to play.
A bunch of ways to cheer up your friends and make them really happy.
So that's how you can insert videos. I must have double clicked on it twice by accident. So let's click on that blue arrow, hit delete, and it got rid of the second thumbnail. So when you insert videos, it's just putting thumbnails. When you hit play, it's going to play it full screen. The next one down is your widgets. This is where you can add dice, spinners, traditional widgets that you used to find in Smart Notebook. One thing about the widgets on the board versus the widgets in Notebook, they are going to be a little more difficult to modify. So if I was to put a spinner, when you have the spinner on the computer in Notebook and you click on the settings, and I hit the video again by accident. When you hit on the settings of the spinner, there we go. It's a little more difficult on the board than it is on the computer, as I mentioned. So when you get there, you'll see down here I have my add text, but it's a lot harder to see it all and type on the touch screen. So that's why I said you're more likely going to want to use the widgets on a computer, not on the board. It's nice to have them available, but they're not always going to be the most user-friendly on the board. All right, moving down, you have a plus sign right over here. And when you click on that plus sign, it gives you a couple of options. You have your blank page. You have a shout out, which we're going to talk about when we get into the software in a bit. So I'm not going to show it to you now on the board. But then you have ready-made activities. You have graphic organizers and manipulatives. So if we look at the graphic organizers and we scroll down this list, you'll see we have Frayer model, we have story maps, we have tables, we have Venn diagrams. So pretty much any graphic organizer that teachers tend to use often. If I click on that plus sign again and I go to the manipulatives, I have fraction bars, I have money. My ELA teachers love this one. Kind of looks like the Scrabble blocks, but without the number, without like the score values. And you can tell the kids to come up and spell words. Kids can come up, drag letters. So this is what's called an infinite cloner. Those letters will never run out. I can drag as many of the letter M up as I want right now, and you'll see that I just keep getting more letter M's. It is not running out, it just keeps going. So that is the manipulatives. Like I said, they have a lot of different ones that you can explore on your board. So since a lot of you are standing in front of your board right now, I want you to go ahead and on that main screen, I want you to hit the whiteboard option. And I want you to just play around, see what different features you're noticing, see what type of stuff you can find with it, and come off of mute and ask questions if you have some.
Hi.
Yes.
I'm wondering how you save it. Like, we've been playing with it while you've been talking, but every time I exit out, it like automatically deletes what we had there. Like, is there a way you need to save your work and stuff?
Should not be automatically deleting. So if you go back, if on the bottom of your board, you have that little button that says home, well, it has a picture of a house. When you click on that, do you see it under recents?
Yeah, it does show up under recents. I guess it just generates a new screen and you have to go back to the recent, I guess.
Yeah, so every time you hit whiteboard, it's going to open a brand new one.
Okay, thanks.
But all your files are under recents. And now here's something else. Once that recents fills up, on the bottom, you see how you have one that says files? That files is going to save everything from the day that the board was turned on. Unless you manually delete it. If you don't manually delete, it's going to just keep saving and keep going.
I pulled up my manipulatives and all I have is math manipulatives. Is there something we have to do to get the ELA ones or?
No, so on my board, you have to scroll down. They're toward the bottom. And honestly, I think that alphabet one is the only. Yeah, on mine, that alphabet's the only ELA. And then there's the music for the music teachers.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I just used that as my example, not even noticing it was the only ELA manipulative.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I see lots of math. Okay, thank you.
I think it's because math tends to have more manipulatives. I think for the, ELA, the graphic organizers come in more handy.
Yes.
So when we use the board, it has to be used on the board. You can't use your computer to work the board, correct?
You can. We're looking at the board directly right now, and then we're going to look at the computer side in a minute.
Okay.
I wanted you to just see that the board can, this is what's really nice about this, is if you know you have a sub coming, you can set work for the sub on the board directly, and then they have it when they come in.
Perfect.
So yeah, that's one of the benefits. Like you can come in, if you knew you had a sub coming, the day before, you can set up like the Venn diagram, and you can, add another page and put like the YouTube video of like whatever you're going to have the class watch. And then the substitute would just come in and they would see the lesson and they would click on it and they'd be ready to go.
Okay.
I have a really quick question.
Yeah.
I'm right here. Like, say I have a graphic organizer up and I'm done with it. I want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that's highlighted for me to go back is this back arrow that takes me back to the home screen, like that.
Right.
Well, if I want to just get out of that whiteboard, what's the best way to do it? Like hit this back arrow here, or?
When you say get out of the whiteboard, where do you want to go?
Just say I want to go to another graphic organizer. Do I just hit the plus sign again?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. That's why I wanted you guys to play around a little. I want you to see what you see and ask questions, because sometimes, just explaining stuff isn't as easy as visually trying it yourself.
On the whiteboard,
Yes.
what does the square dots do again? Like the square that's like dotted?
Okay, so the line, if you have like a couple things on your page, so I'm gonna like just draw some scribbles. and you want to be able to select a bunch of them so that you can, you know, select them all. That kind of just makes your hand into a selector. So now I'm moving all of it instead of, if I just clicked on it, notice I'm only moving one object.
This selects them. Okay.
Now, when you do add more than one page, so if you did do like 2 or 3 graphic organizers, you'll notice that you have the arrows on the bottom to go back and forth between them. You'll also have that number. So like I have the number 1 right now. And when I click on the number 1, it opens all the pages that I have. So that's how you can get a look at everything else that's on that whiteboard. Yes. I see someone playing with the backgrounds. Cool. All right, so I want to move on because we do really, like I said, we want to touch more on the software than the hardware today. The other thing I want to show you though is when we get into the software, what's really nice about these boards is the cloud can go from the computer to the board without even plugging in. So if you wanted to, on the top left, you have that little icon of a person and you can sign in. And what signing in does is everything you do on the whiteboard will save to your cloud so you can open it on the computer. Everything you do on the computer will save to the cloud so you can open it on the board. Now, this is specifically smart files. So when you are logged in, it's not going to bring your Google Slides and your Jamboards and all of those files. It's only going to bring smart files back and forth. But it again just gives you that flexibility of not being plugged into the computer. So if you wanted to sign in, you would just click sign in with Google. You type in all your info and you will see your files will start to appear. And I'm going to do it quickly because when we get to the software, I actually want to be able to demonstrate this to you. So we're going to just log in quickly. All right. So you'll see it says it's signing me in. All right. So you'll notice right away my recents changed because now I'm logged into the board. So what happens is it pulls my files rather than the board's files. You'll also see on the top it says welcome Cori because it's letting me know I'm logged in. So I'm going to click on a whiteboard and it's going to open up. It's the same. It doesn't change from what we were just looking at. The only difference is now anything I'm doing on this whiteboard is going to go over to my cloud when we switch over. So I have my whiteboard. I'm going to just write Mid-Valley training. And you'll see that I now have a whiteboard. I click my home button, takes me home. And right up here, that's my whiteboard that I just wrote on. If I click on my Files tab, you'll see it has my name. It says SLS, which is Smart Learning Suite Files. And right now you'll see all these rectangles, but they are loading. And what's going to happen is all of my cloud files are going to pop up here in the Files tab. It does take a moment, so I can't speed that up. And as you have already seen, the internet is kind of going a little slow today. But all my files will show up here, and I will have that ability to actually open up any of those cloud files.
Didn't they say the name was going to change? So remember?
Yes. So actually, at the end of this week, Smart Learning Suite is becoming Lumio or Lumio. It's Lumio. I honestly think I'm pronouncing it wrong, but everything about the software is going to be the same. The only difference is the name. They're changing it because they think it's easier for teachers than Smart Learning Suite, which is just a mouthful. And here are all my files. So as you can see, all my files came from my Google Drive to my board. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So we just did all those examples, and let's say you want to delete them. How do you get rid of them?
Excellent question. So you would go to Files on the bottom of the board.
Okay.
And then what you would do is you would, whatever you want to delete, you would hold your finger on it until it gets that, everything else kind of shadows out, and you'll see it has a blue box now. And then the delete shows up on the top.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. So like I said, they do save automatically and they will stay forever, but you can manually delete stuff. The last thing I wanted to just show you on the Android is if you are a Google Drive person, if you like using Google Docs, Google Slides, all of that, you can go onto the board and log in. So if I go to my Google and I go to like drive.google.com, I can log in and everything will be on the browser. I will tell you though, one shortcut when using Google Drive through the browser on the board that you need to be aware of. On the top of your Chrome browser on the board, you have the 3 dots. You need to click those 3 dots, and where it says desktop site, make sure that's checked. The reason being, this is an Android. However, it can't download the apps like your phone. So when you are on the mobile version of the website, it tries to prompt you to download the program in order to edit the files. If you check that box, again, 3 dots up top, desktop site, just make sure that that box is checked. As long as that box is checked, the websites will load and allow you to do anything that you could have done on your computer. So really important for Google Drive is to just make sure you are connecting to the desktop page. The reason I'm showing you Google Drive is because I know a lot of you do use those Google Docs, and I want you to know that you can still use them with the board. In fact, what's really nice is the board gives you some real great flexibility, because now instead of sitting at my computer, I'm up here at the board, I'm in my Google Drive, it's going to open. I click on new, I click more, and as I mentioned, interesting, it already switched to Lumio. As we were talking about the name change, it switched on my Google Drive today. But I can click Google Jamboard, which is actually what we're going to be talking about for the first part of today's software session. But now it's opening up that blank Jamboard. And you'll see I have Google Jamboard. I have my Google Jamboard tools. I could pick up my stylus. But what happens with the stylus is very interesting. So did anybody notice what happened? It's kind of hard to see on the camera share, but did anyone notice what happened when I used my stylus on Google Jamboard?
You got like a shadow screen.
Say that one more time.
You got a shadow screen. That was a question I had later on about something as well.
Yeah. So when you are in the browser and you pick up the stylus is actually putting a clearish filter over the screen. So you'll notice like I'm writing on top of everything. It's not just the Jamboard. But when I discard my ink, my Jamboard is blank. So what you need to do is you need to be using those pens with your finger. Now this will be different when we go into the computer. So I just wanted to show you that for the sake of using it on the board. If you are going to use it without a computer attached and you just want to open up the browser directly on the smartboard, you cannot use the pens on the browser.
Okay, because earlier you had, I'm sorry to interrupt, you had mentioned about not being able to use your finger, but you can use your finger when you're in the Google, like Jamboard, et cetera, anything that you're using through that.
Yes, so yeah, that does get confusing, doesn't it? All right, so quick recap of pens versus fingers. Your finger is the mouse. So when you're using Jamboard on the computer, you're using the mouse pad to write, correct? That's why on Jamboard on the board, you still use your finger, because you really are using the mouse. It's just on Jamboard, the mouse puts ink. The other thing I will also point out, and I'm going to just go to a fresh Jamboard so that the screen's clear. When you are on the Android, I can only write one line at a time. So even though all 5 of my fingers are touching the board, it's only writing one line. When we switch over to the computer, and I show you this again, the computer has 10 points of touch, actually 20 points of touch. So I could take both of my hands like this, do that old-fashioned screech across the board, and it would draw 10 lines. So the Android is great because you don't have to plug in a computer, but you're going to see when you plug in a computer, it is much better. So I am going to go back to my home screen. I click the home button here. We didn't talk about all the buttons yet, so just really quick. The first button is a picture of a house. That's your home button. Takes you back to the Android. The next button is a square with an arrow. That is your input. When you click on the square with the arrow, you will see 4 boxes. Now your boards have 2 HDMIs behind it and a 3rd HDMI right here in the front. Anytime you have a cable plugged in, you will see a preview of that computer showing. You also have VGA, which is that older connection. But you'll see a preview so you can know which computer to turn on. The next options, the curtain. When you click the curtain, it just blacks out the screen completely. Hit the curtain again, the screen comes back. Or the screen should come back. There we go. The pause button. You're not really going to use the pause when you're on the Android, but when you are on your computer. How many of you used to have a projector and you had the freeze button so you could freeze a PowerPoint slide while you check your email quickly? That's what the pause button will do. On the Android, it still does it, but it doesn't help you because you can't exactly go to another screen when you don't have another screen. The next buttons are your volume controls, and then the last button is power. So those are the buttons on the bottom, and with that, I am going to switch over to my computer. Okay. Make that full screen. So on my board right now, you can see I have a Google Slides about Jamboard. And what I am going to do now is I am actually going to screen share this so you can see it even more clearly. All right, so do you guys see my screen share?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I think you have to find it in the
Oh,
group.
yeah, there it is. I got it.
Oh, yeah, if you had my camera pinned, the screen.
Yeah, pin.
Yeah, so if you unpin my camera, it'll show the screen share. So we're now on the computer. And you can see that my finger is my mouse. I could also pick up my pen. But now here's the thing, in Google Slides, I could write on it, but it's actually this pen right here that's writing.
What kind of device are you using?
This is, I'm on a Mac laptop.
Okay.
It works the same on a PC as well.
But not a Chrome OS.
Chrome OS, are all your teachers on Chrome OS?
They may be this year.
Okay. It works on Chrome OS, it's just much more limited. And I don't even have a Chrome OS to sample how it changes. So with the Chrome OS, the pens and everything will work, but you won't have like the extra tools. If that makes sense. The other thing I want to point out though, notice that when I switch slides, what's happening to that blue line I drew? It's staying there on my screen. So that's one of the reasons you wouldn't want to do this in Google Slides. However, if we go over to Jamboard, and I'm going to just add a blank slide to start with. So if we come over to Jamboard, now what I'm going to do is I click on my pen and I go to my tools, and actually it's not going to work for me today. All right, so it should let you use the pens, but it's, for some reason, it's not. So what we're going to do is we're going to just keep using our finger. So I click on my pens, and you can see I'm able to write on it. On Jamboard, it is going to limit me to that one point of touch. So that is something to be aware of, that in Jamboard, it does look like it is sticking to one point of touch. But the nice thing about the Jamboard, there we go. The nice thing about Jamboard is it does have all of that collaboration. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this link in the chat for you, because I want you guys to see that collaboration. Oh, and now I see what the issue is. I got a pop-up on my desktop. Yeah, that's what it was. Smart Ink must have updated. Just to show you, it's not even letting me drag it to the other screen. But I got a pop-up for Smart Ink to change the settings. So I apologize that the settings are changed. So what I want you guys to do right now is on this slide, so when you click on that link that I put in the chat, I want you to take one of those Post-it notes, change it to your name, and then rank your comfort level from a 1 to a 5 with Jamboard. 1 for you've never even seen Jamboard before, 5 for you're super comfortable with it. So don't forget to double click and change the word name to your name. And I see Jimmy and Mike did it fast. All right. Now, when you're looking at the Jamboard, you'll see that I can see, now it's telling me everyone is anonymous because you guys are not logged into my domain, and because I gave you that anyone with the link could click on that link. So the reason I wanted you to see this is one example of how you could use Jamboard with your students. And I like how Mike is just resizing his name, just having some fun there, playing around with the color. All right. So I would be able to pick up my pen. And I could be like, how many of you are a 4? Looks like nobody's really at a 4. Well, a couple names are flipping back and forth. I'm really glad to see that there's not many 1s. That shows me that you got, well, Jody had her name at 4 and then she moved to the 1. So I'm really not sure if she's just playing around right now or what's going on. Same with Mike. Mike's been all over the place. But what I'm saying is this is a great way to just quickly see how your students are doing, and everyone can be participating in that same activity. When you're using Jamboard, again, I can be up here, I can have my pens, I can have Post-it notes, pictures, anything I need. The other nice thing about Jamboard is you can share it in Google Classroom. So if you were to go into Google Classroom, now I know you had mentioned, Jimmy, you had mentioned that you guys might be switching to ClassLink. Will you still be using Google Classroom as like for your assignments, or are you going to be using the entire ClassLink system?
I mean, we're still gonna be primarily Google Classroom and stuff like that, yeah.
Okay. I'm just asking because I'm not completely familiar with ClassLink, so I wasn't sure if they had like alternatives to the Google Classroom environment. All right, but if I go to classwork, I can click create a new assignment, and I could add a Jamboard. But this is the reason it's really great. So I go to do that add Jamboard to my classroom, and it gives me those options. Students can edit the current file, which means everyone's working together, collaborating. Make a copy for each student. Every student would then get their own Jamboard. That's great for math class because you can have I'm tongue-tied. You could put each slide have a problem, and then send the Jamboard out to the students and have them solve the problems using a pen rather than trying to type. So it's really flexible what Jamboard can do within the Google Classroom environment. So you have the same sharing options as any other Google file. One thing about Jamboard that I just want to point out also, you'll notice up here in the corner it says open on a Jamboard. That is a physical object. So just like how you guys have a smartboard, Jamboard is actually Google's own brand of smartboard. So I just want you to be aware that the open on a Jamboard is not something that you guys would be dealing with. All right, so we're gonna move back toward, I'm gonna sit down at the computer now, and we are going to kind of talk a little bit more about Jamboard. Oops. As I went the camera too far. And then we're going to switch over into what's called Smart Learning Suite. So Smart Learning Suite is, again, it's smart software. And the whole point of Smart Learning Suite is for you guys to really see the power of using the all-in-one software. So smart software is designed to really work nicely with your board. And I just got it because I have the dual screen right now. Give me 1 second. All right. So because, like I said, because smart software is designed to work very seamlessly with your smartboard, that's the reason why we're going to look at it today. But I want you to just see how all of your Google tools would also function with the software. So especially if you're going to be in that Chrome browser, or if you're going to be on that Chromebook, I believe the Chromebook has 10 points of touch when you're using Smart Learning Suite. And again, we're going to look at all of that in a moment. But a couple more things for Jamboard. I'm going to share this out to you actually, so you guys will have a copy of this. But it just has a couple of like the help tips. It has information. So like you can only have 20 slides per notebook or per Jamboard. It has some samples from a teacher of things you can do. It also has some great examples from Matt Smith. If you don't know Matt Miller, why did I say Smith? Matt Miller, he wrote the book Ditch That Textbook. He also wrote Ditch the Homework. He wrote, basically, if the book starts with the word ditch the, Matt wrote it. He's an awesome guy. But so like that idea that we just did with the rating things 1 to 5, that came from Matt. We also have 2 truths and a lie. So he has a lot of great templates on his website. I am going to get this link for you and share it so that way you guys will have this resource as well. So I will put that in the chat section for you.
What was his name again? Matt?
Matt Miller. And all of those came from this page right here, 10 Jamboard templates for distance learning. And if you Google Jamboard classroom, like you'll find so many more of these as well. Jamboards is this really, like I said, it's a great versatile tool. It is super easy to use. And whereas in Google Slides, you can't really write, in Jamboard you can. So the 2 tools really just give you a nice balance together. All right. So what we're going to do now is we are going to look at, as we said, the name just changed, so it's called Lumio now. But if I click here under New on my Google Drive and I go to More, I am going to see that Lumio as an option. So if you want to go follow along, I want you to click New, More, and then you'll see Lumio by Smart as the option. So let me show you that screen share again, just so you can see where that is.
Everyone should have it. I installed it on the domain a few weeks ago.
Perfect. Now, the first time you guys are clicking on it, it's going to prompt you to log in again. It's going to prompt you to accept terms of service, all of that fun stuff. So go ahead and click on that again, New, More, Lumio by Smart. And when you get to this page, I want you to let me know. So give me a thumbs up in the camera so that I know when you guys are ready to move on to the next part.
I'm sorry, where do we find the new button?
On the top of your Google Drive.
Oh.
On the 3 buttons?
No, you guys go
So
click
we're-
the 9 little dots for your Google Apps.
Right.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize they weren't in Drive yet. I apologize, Jimmy.
It's okay. Then you just
All right.
click in your Drive.
Okay, I got you.
So if you click on the little Rubik's Cube, you will see Google Drive as the triangle.
Oh, okay.
And then you would click New, More, and then Lumio by Smart. And I'm going to just go back to the folder I was in first. If you want to go to a specific folder, go to that folder first. Totally fine. In fact, whatever files you create today are going to save in the folder that you're in when you start.
This is all that comes up when I hit new.
Cori, does it matter if we're on someone else's smartboard? This will still save to our own account?
As long as you're logged in, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, it saves. So that's the nice thing. It's since it is cloud, it always saves to the person who's logged in.
I think it's just being slow. Here it is. Here's more. And Lumio. There it is.
It sometimes is kind of slow. So if it's lagging to load, that's why. So while you guys are doing that, if you look at the screen share, you'll see that notebook, the file that I created on my smartboard has shown up, just like I said, right there in my cloud. So I just wanted you to see that it really does go back and forth. All right, so a show of hands, how many of you found it ready to move on? Okay. Awesome. All right, I see Jimmy raised his hand, Elizabeth raised her hand. I saw Lori turned her camera on and waved. Vito just raised his virtual hand. Awesome. Eduardo. It's kind of fun to see who like literally raises their hand on the camera and who uses the little hand raise on the Google Meet. So it's always an interesting pattern of half and half sort of. All right, so I'm going to lower all the hands that are currently raised. If you are still struggling, if you're having trouble finding your account or logging in, please raise your hand.
I'm not having trouble. I just got to the new and the more with no problem, but I don't have Lumiere on mine.
Okay, well, here's a good question for you. Are you on your school account or are you on your personal Gmail?
School.
Okay, then I don't know why it's not showing.
Let me double check though, because sometimes it goes back and forth.
Okay.
I signed in with my school, but
Okay, so you're doing this on your board right now?
yeah.
Leslie, it is the very bottom one.
Yeah, I got to the more part. I just couldn't. Let me try signing in.
And that's fine if you're doing this on the board. I just, it might be easier to do this on the computer to start. But if you want to do it on the board, you can. It's not, it'll still work. It obviously still works.
All right, let me try it on the computer. Thank you.
Yep, just open a new tab so it doesn't like hang up the call. All right. So while we're waiting for Leslie to check hers, I don't want to get too far ahead for her. But what you're going to notice is a couple of things on this page. First of all, you're going to see your name along the top. You're also going to see what's called a class ID. The class ID is your virtual classroom. That is when you are doing in-person, synchronous, whether it be hybrid or everyone's physically in the room with you. When you are live teaching the class and the kids are following along with you as the instructor, the class ID is how they get into your class. You'll also be able to share these files for asynchronous. So you can do this with the kids live and you can do it with the students like for homework, or, all right, guys, you have 3 days to finish the project. Here's the presentation, here's the slides, here's the questions, go at it. So those are the two different things you can do. All at once or individual. If you want to change your display name, if you click the edit class, you will have rename class as an option. It is just a text box. You can put your name however you want the students to see it. I would highly recommend putting your name and not putting like biology. Because if you are the type of teacher that teaches 2 sections of bio and 1 section of physics, you don't get a separate class code for each class that you teach. That class code is you as the teacher. So just like your classroom has a room number on the wall and you teach different classes in that room, that virtual class ID is your ID, even if you teach multiple classes. All right, and I see Leslie just wrote she got it. All right, awesome. Some other things under edit class that you might want to do. Don't worry about the class banner because you're the only one that ever sees that anyway. Manage guest access. If you have this turned on, students can log in as a guest. unless you are teaching professional development like what I'm doing right now, unless you are presenting at a conference where nobody is from your school, I would recommend disabling the guest access. The only reason you would want to allow guests, maybe on parent-teacher night, you want the parents to log in and experience the students' work. That would be a reason to enable guests. But you want to force your students to log in. It's going to make things easier for everyone, because if they log in as a guest, it saves their work for the teacher, but the students can't go back and see it later. And again, I know that sounds kind of confusing, so when we actually get into this, I will show you what I mean by that. All right, so you have 3 things up here. You have a green box that says Add Activities, a blue one that says Explore Resources, and a gray one that says Training. That training is going to take you to Smart's website, and it has everything you can want to know about Smart Learning Suite. How to start a file, how to add a video, how to create a new page, how to enhance it by adding activities and game-based learning, how to add audio instructions, how to do individual handouts, how to do. So you could see it has everything that you could want. This is all stuff that we're going to talk about today briefly, but that's where you can get more in depth and see more advanced ways to do it. All right, explore resources. How many of you have used Smart Exchange before? I see Bernadette's shaking her head yes. Okay. How many of you have used Teachers Pay Teachers? Bernadette again. Okay. I see a couple more hands go up for Teachers Pay Teachers. And I hear the hands raising on the, I see Lori and Ellen and Erin raise their hands, and Jessica. Awesome. And Jacqueline. All right. So explore resources is going to kind of be similar to that. These are all resources that have been created by people who work for Smart. The reason I say that is because unlike Teachers Pay Teachers, unlike Smart Exchange, where anyone can upload and anyone can download, excuse me, everything here under resources is specifically made by Smart. Now, some of them say shared by Smart Technologies. Some say like Jody Bean, Casey, I don't even know Casey's last name, I'm not going to lie. Jody and Casey both work for Smart. I know that because I know them, I've worked with them, but you wouldn't know that looking at the names listed. So just know that anything on that Explore Resources tab is going to be stuff that was made by Smart. So if you were to click on an activity and say, save it to my library, it is going to save it to your Google Drive. And what it's going to do is it's actually going to create a brand new folder in your Google Drive called Smart Learning Suite, although now it might change that name and call it Lumio. So if I go back to my Google Drive, I have a folder called somewhere, Smart Learning Suite right there. And when I open that Smart Learning Suite, every file that I have clicked, there's that snowman that I just opened. So they all save into that Smart Learning Suite folder. And again, the first time you do it, it's going to actually just create that folder in your Google Drive. But we're going to not look at those right now. We are going to go to create our own Smart Learning Suite file. So when you click Add Activity, you are going to see, first of all, it's saying it's adding the content to your Google Drive. And you'll notice for me, because I was in my Mid-Valley folder, it's going to save it to Mid-Valley. If you were in a folder called Math, it will save it to the Math folder. If you're in a folder, excuse me, if you're in a folder called Chapter 1, it would save it to the folder called Chapter 1. So whatever folder you were in when you click New, that's the folder it's going to save to. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to import a resource. And I have a file in my Google Drive that I already know I want to use. So I go to my Google Drive. and I click on the file, and it's going to take that. And then that file, if you didn't notice, because I kind of went quickly, that file was a Google Slides. So it is taking my Google Slides, and it is importing each slide as a smart page. So what's going to happen is when this goes through, might be a couple seconds. So when this eventually does go through, what's going to happen is it's going to give me a preview of each slide, and it's going to let me select. So if I want the whole presentation or I want half the presentation, here we go. So you'll see it says select the pages, and it gives me the select all, or it turns that off. So I'm going to turn select all off because I don't need all of these files for you guys today. And I am going to open up my Smart Learning Suite file. I'm going to open up the name change. Let's see, what else? Yeah, we'll do that. All right, so we're going to add all those files. We're going to click add. And now what it's going to do is it's converting those pages into a smart file. So again, you can do this with any Google Slides, any PowerPoint, any PDF, any smart notebook. It will import it and convert it. All right, so now I have my first slide, which just shows you some information. Then I have another slide with some information, but the next slide is an icebreaker. Now, obviously, we've already been talking for about an hour, so it's not really an icebreaker at this point, but I have this icebreaker and I want this to be interactive for my students. So I click here where it says convert to activity, and I make it a handout. Now, when I am presenting this to my students will see it just like this. They will see a toolbar to the side, and they will be able to write on the slide, erase on the slide, and I'm in preview right now, so it is limited, but there will also be an insert image on the side. So I've now created, that was just a blank slide on my Google Slides, but by hitting convert, I've now made it interactive for the students. This is also why I like to start in Google Slides and then convert it to Smart Learning Suite, because watch what happens if you just create a slide in Smart Learning Suite. I'm going to click, yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but can you present what you're talking about?
Aren't I screen sharing it?
I can't. Am I not?
Yeah, Sarah, you have to unpin her.
I
and
am
then
so
it'll pop up.
sorry.
Okay. I was trying to click and follow along. I didn't realize. Oh my goodness. Sorry. I feel silly. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No. Is anybody else not seeing the screen share? Because we are, Sarah, we're going to, after I go through this with you, we're going to take a break. And then when we come back, I'm actually going to have you guys kind of sit in the seat of the student so you can see how this would look on the student side.
And just one more clarification. When you wanted to present this one particular slide to convert it, all you did was click on it, right? And then made it a handout?
Yes.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I'll click edit again just to go back. So when I imported it from my Google Slides, it's just a stagnant slide. It's just a picture. I click convert to activity and I click make a handout. And you'll see on my slide deck here, it puts that little purple handout icon on top of it. So as I mentioned, graphically, it's nicer to do it in Google Slides and convert it because it's going to give you more flexibility. So if I click on the plus sign down at the bottom, I'll see here I can put a new page. Isn't that beautiful? That's what you get when you put a blank slide. Now I can move my text. I could delete my description. I can then change that text and I could say draw or insert a picture of how you feel. Notice I can move my text around. So before you turn it into a handout, you would want to click on it, click the arrow, and click lock. That'll prevent your students from moving it. That kind of glues it down to the part of the slide where you want it. Then you click convert activity, make a handout. But did you guys notice the only things I can do on this white slide, I could add text. I have 5 fonts. I have 5 colors. I could insert a picture. So I could add an image, but compared to what I can do on a Google slide, this is very limited. So I just want you to see the reason why creating it in Google Slides and importing it gives you much more flexibility and visual niceness. I don't really know of a better word. And I am going to share this out with you guys. So what I'm showing you, all these notes, you will get a copy of this as well. So ways to create a Smart Learning Suite file. You can import previously made notebooks, PowerPoints, Google Slides, and PDFs, or you can start from a blank page. You can start from a game. Just like before on the whiteboard, you had your graphic organizers, you could add a graphic organizer. I'm going to actually go in here to make this bigger. So here I have my graphic organizers. They're all right there. You can just add them in. Here are my manipulatives. They're all right there. You can add them in. Game-based activities. We're going to look at these in a bit, but you can make a game for your students. A real misnomer, though, a lot of people will call that gamification. Gamification and game-based learning are 2 totally different things. They're different pedagogies, they're different concepts, they're different end results. So just be aware that these are game-based learning, which is basically taking a game and your kids are going to learn through play. Gamification is a mindset where you're changing your whole classroom to become a game, sort of. Like I said, they're 2 different things, so I just don't want you to get confused. This is game-based learning. Shout it out. I'm going to actually put one of these in here because I want you to see this. So I put my question. I'm going to let each student have 3 responses. I click next. I can customize this and put my own background, or I can just use a classic background. And when I do this, I'm going to actually move it up to the top so that when we do sample this in a few minutes, you guys can try that first. So notice that once I put a slide, I can rearrange the order. And then you just have your game-based activities. So when you're doing game-based activities, this is another really important thing. The games are a lot of fun. They are graphically beautiful. They're animated. Like this basketball right here, when they get the answer right, the player gets a basket. When they get the answer wrong, they hit the rim and the ball bounces off. Really great graphics, really great animation. The problem is, you as the teacher will not be able to grade those activities. If you wanted to grade it yourself, you have to make it yourself. Teacher created has less animation, but the teachers would be able to see it. So right here, I created a blank sentence, and you'll notice my word bank is blank. That's because I am going to take my text box and I am going to add my words. I'm going to make that a bigger font, change the color to red. All right, so I have one word. Then I would have to go in and type the next word. Does anyone know why each word has to be its own text box and not typing them all together?
Because you have to drag one at a time to its place. If you put them in the same text box, you're dragging both words.
Exactly. So I just did that as an example of what not to do. So each word would have to be its own text box. And this is also why I cheated and I had the word bank on the slide above it, because I knew I was going to forget what the blanks were. All right, so I have my 5 words. I can then convert this, make it a handout. Now, if I want to do that as a fun activity, I click my plus sign, I click game-based activities, and I will select fill in the blank. Notice that you can do this as fast as you can type. Once you've typed the sentence, click define the blanks. And when I click on the word, notice it now has that blue puts a nice little blue box. If I needed it to be 2 words, I could drag that and you'll see that blue line, and now it's two words. So you can custom, as I leave the C off the word climb. So you can customize your blanks. Click next, pick a background. So this one has a few options. Click finish. And now I have that animated game. So like I said, those game-based activities are really fast to create. If I click preview just to show you, here's what it looks like. They drag the words. I'm purposely dragging them wrong. Click the check, and it shows you if you got them right or wrong. You can then flip them around, and it shows you got them right. However, as I mentioned, the teacher is not able to grade that. So because that activity is made by Smart, the teacher can't see it to grade it, to give feedback or any of that. This one, the students would not get the grades checked automatically, but the teacher could see the work. So when we go into that student mode, when I show you this after, this way you can explore those two and see the difference between them. All right, so then I changed the name of my file since this is no longer the template. This is the Mid-Valley notebook. It saves the new name, and then I click finish editing. You will see they are all listed chronologically. This is the reason you really want to go through Google Drive, because right here you'll see I have a ton of these notebooks with that same cover because I reuse it a lot. If I go to my Mid-Valley folder of Google Drive though, you'll see it saved right there in my Google Drive folder. So what I want you guys to do is I want to give you a little break. We're going to actually do 6 minutes. So at 10 o'clock, we're going to come back and we're going to try this on the student side, and then you guys are going to try it on the teacher side. So 6 minutes, come back at 10 o'clock, go get another cup of coffee, go stretch, whatever you need, and we will be back at 10 to continue on. So Jacqueline, when you give me the thumbs up, I'll start. Okay. I was going by you because you're the only one that gave me the 1 second finger.
I was just, there's a lot of people have their screens off, so I was like giving them another minute. I'm good.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so what I would like to do right now is I want to take you into the student side so you can see how this really works. But if we don't do it a certain way, it makes going back to teacher mode a little difficult. So let me just make sure okay. I was showing you the turning off guests earlier, so I wanted to make sure I didn't accidentally leave them off. What I would like you guys to do is you are going to go up on your browser to the 3 dots. So all the way at the top, right next to your URL bar, you're going to click the 3 dots and you are going to select an incognito window. The reason you want to do an incognito window is because you do not want to log in. You want this to be completely separate from your Google account. If you would prefer, you could do it on your phone as well. So if you would like to participate through your phone, you can go to the website through your phone as well. So you are going to go, and I'm going to put it in the chat. It is hellosmart.com. And my class code is 120 636. A reminder, every teacher has their own class code. And now if I click over here on the silhouette, it shows me that right now there's no students connected, but I'll be able to see as students start to join. You are going to click log in as a guest. And then when it asks for your name, if you want to be silly today, power to you. Part of the reason I told you don't want your students logging in as a guest is you don't want them making up a funny name. You want them putting their real name. If they log in with Google, it is always going to put their name. So that is the first thing to be aware of. Again, for that incognito window, the 3 dots on your browser, an incognito window will be right there as an option. All right, I see Sue is the first one. Sue gets a gold star today.
What was the pin again?
120636, and I could even make it larger on my screen. Is that better? All right, I have 6 students connected. Nine students connected. 10. All right, you guys are getting in there. Awesome. All right, so what we're in right now is teacher paste. If I click on the silhouette, I can go here where it says lesson pacing, and I can change it to student, which we'll do in a moment. But in teacher paste, you'll notice on your screen the gray arrows are grayed out. You are unable to move slides, but if I switch the slide, your slide switches with it. So right now I'm going to start the shout it out, and on your screens, you're going to see a text box. What I want you to do is I want you to send something in the text box. You can just write hello and hit submit. I just want you to see how it works. So as soon as you type something and hit submit, if you look at the screen share on the Google Meet, you're going to see your stuff popping up. So that is how a shout out works. Now I can decide, do I want my students one each, or do I want them to send like 10 each? Whatever you decide in the settings is what ends up happening. Somebody wrote they need more coffee. Somebody wrote they're curious about the lock feature. Hope they get to it later. We will try to get to the lock feature. Yes, definitely. Somebody else is just labeling their responses. Second response, third response. Thank you, Jimmy. I can even move all 3 of Jimmy's responses right next to each other. So the shout out, I'm sharing it through the Google Meet, but what you would probably do is you would, I like how somebody wrote Jimmy showing off. So what you guys would do is you would have your screen up on the board. So where I'm screen sharing it through Google Meet, you would have it up on the board. So the students can only see the answers if you're screen sharing it somehow. On their devices, all they see is the text box. Now, something else to point out. If I click over here where the gear is, I can turn off display names. This is great because notice now, even though we knew that that was Jimmy because I had already had it, lined up, you could have the kids do something anonymous. So how often have you, like in advisory or in health class, you need the kids to be a little more comfortable asking questions or posting comments, and you don't want them to be embarrassed by their classmates' reactions. If you turn off those display names, they don't know who is who. The benefit of this, you as the teacher still can figure out who is who. I would not do this screen sharing. I would not do this up at the board, but let's say that I'm concerned that somebody wrote they need more coffee because maybe, that's a sign of an addict and I need to pass that along to the guidance and I'm saying this as somebody who drinks like 10 cups of coffee a day. So I'm with you right there. But let's say that this is a concerning comment by a high school kid. I need to escalate this to the guidance counselor to make sure that this student is safe and healthy. After class, when all the students are gone, or if I unplug it from the board so that it's only on my computer, I click on the gear. I click turn the names back on. And now I can see it says EDU. I click on the gear and I can see that EDU is Eduardo. I can move that over so that his name is matching up with his comment. And I could take a screenshot. Now I can send that screenshot to the guidance counselor so that they could follow up with the student. Now again, you guys are logged in as guests. Your students, it will show their full name. And I like how here I even have one room that has multiple teachers. I love that you guys put all your names. Thank you. But I just wanted you to see that because that's my favorite feature of it is that the kids can have that confidence and feel like they're able to share, but you still have that accountability that if something really concerning was posted, you know who posted it. All right, so moving along, we're going to now look at that icebreaker. Don't click yet, please. Don't click because I want you to see this. On the teacher sharing, it is taking a moment to load. Let me try that again. There we go. Right now it says students will appear once they've connected and starting the activity. As soon as one person, so can I have Eduardo or Jimmy, both of you? Let's have Eduardo and Jimmy both click start. See how it suddenly shifted and now Jimmy's name and Eduardo's name are there. The reason I wanted just the two of them to hit start for a moment is I want you to see when you give this to your kids asynchronously and you have, I'm going to just pick on Sarah because she's the first picture on my camera next to Jimmy's name. So when Sarah comes into class tomorrow and goes, I didn't understand the work, I could look at this and say, well, Sarah, you didn't even open it. So now if the rest of the class wants to hit start, you'll see all of their names start popping up. But notice like when I clicked on Eduardo's name, and thank you, Eduardo, for not moving ahead of me, it shows me that he didn't actually do anything. If I click on Jimmy's name, Jimmy didn't actually do anything yet. But do you see the difference between opening the file and not doing anything and not even opening it? As a teacher, you can tell the difference between you didn't try and you didn't get it. Because if they didn't click start, their name's not showing up. The second they hit start, even if the slide is blank, they open the file. If you are willing to let me share your screen, Jimmy just got ahead of me. Look at that. I was about to say, if you are willing for me to share your screen, I want you to click on the done button and you'll notice that it puts a green arrow next to your name. So now if I click on Jimmy, he wrote, I did now with a smiley face. Excellent, Jimmy. So I can come in here and I can put a gold star. So I would give Jimmy a gold star. And I can go in and I'm going to pick on Eduardo again. And he's also drawing a little face. And you can see he's in real time because I pulled up his screen and he's still drawing the mustache. Is that a self-portrait of you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's breathtaking.
It's beautiful. I love it. All right. But so this is the point of the handouts. You can click the green check and then I know you're done. But I can still go into your work even if you're not done. I also have arrows so I can just go left to right. Jackie looks like she's really enjoying this. Awesome. Jess drew a smile. I think we're just all in a smiley face mood today. All right, but so that's, again, that is how you can see the handouts. Now, we did a handout, we did a shout out. What we haven't done yet is a workspace. So I didn't pre-design a workspace in this presentation, but I want to do one with you guys right now. So I can click on the plus sign, and it gives me a very limited choice, a whiteboard or a shout out. So I'm going to put a whiteboard. And then to turn it into a collaborative activity, I click on the silhouette of the people and I make collaborative workspace. It now asks me how many teams I want. There are 15 of you in my class today. I'm going to do 5 teams of 3. It will randomly assign you to a team. Let's say that I know that Aaron and Eduardo don't get along. I can switch the names. So even though it randomly generates the teams, you can move names back and forth to put them how you want. Once you're happy, click start. And now what's going to happen is I'm going to go into the to Jimmy's. So Bernadette, Jimmy, and who was that last name? And Joanne. All 3 of you are looking at that same whiteboard. So if one of you draws something, all 3 of you will see it. And everyone else will see it too because I'm screen sharing. But only the team members see their whiteboard. And this is just a sample, so you draw whatever you want, insert pictures. If I go to Eduardo's, I could see somebody's drawing some X's. If I click on the X and pull down the menu, I could see that Sarah Beth drew that line. If I click on the picture, I could see Eduardo added a picture of the beach. So as a teacher, you can see all your teams, but you could also find out who wrote something. That would have been funny if somebody else wrote, "This is Jimmy," to try to make him look bad.
They don't have to try that hard.
Okay. I'll do this for you, Jimmy. There you go. Also notice that when you click on a picture, it gives you the source of that image. Smart does a great job of encouraging digital citizenship. By putting the source of any posts, it allows you to know that those images are not stolen. Those pictures are cited. So great stuff. All right. So I'm going to skip ahead. Again, I'm going to give you this so you'll have all those notes. And I'm going to go to those activities we were talking about before, because the next 2 slides, so this is slide 10, slide 11, and slide 12 are the 2 activities. I am going to change this now from teacher paste to student paste. You're going to notice your arrows are no longer grayed out. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to try those 2 activities. Try slide 11, try slide 12, and just see the difference, see how you feel about them. And you guys watched me create both of those slides. So be aware of how much time it took me to do it. But I want you to play those 2 slides. And then I'm going to give you another shout out where you're going to write the pros and cons of the 2 different types of games. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to force it back to teacher paste because I'm going to put you all in the shout out. And what I would like you to do on this shout out, I would like you to say which activity you preferred, pros and cons of either one, and how you could see using game-based learning with your students. All right. I like how Jimmy wrote, I'm a lonely IT guy, no students. I feel bad now, Jimmy. You have students, you work with all the teachers. I like the slide with the graphics and the way I was able to check my own work, create your own fill in the blank so I could see how my students do the work. I'm on my phone, so it was difficult to use. So Liz, I'm actually curious about that. What was difficult on the phone? Or maybe not. Liz, there's something wrong with your microphone when you tried to come off mute. It was like just like a buzz. I'm not sure what was going on there. All right, so unfortunately, it is going to be a little more difficult on the phone compared to a computer just because the screen is smaller, but the dragging should still be very, very similar. Like the basketball game with more students, more feedback for the students. The second slide, because it was self-checking. All right. So again, like I was saying, both slides have their pros and cons. The first slide, more boring in the terms of the graphics, but I can come in here and I could see how each one of my students did. I can see that Liz didn't drag any of the words over. I could see that Lori got them all correct. I could see Mary got them all correct. So that is the benefit, is the teacher can grade that. If I go to the fish activity, can't grade that. Now, if I'm physically in my classroom and I'm calling kids up to the board, those smart activities are awesome because the kids can drag them on the board, they can manipulate the stuff, and it's awesome. But when you're doing it asynchronously, when you're having the kids do the work themselves and then you're going to grade it later, does it work? All right. So the last thing that I didn't show you yet is how to add audio directions. So if I come up to the 3 lines and I go back to edit my lesson, this takes us back to that original editing page that we were on. I can click on a slide, and right down here at the bottom, I have a speech man. This is how you would give directions to students when you need to speak. It now puts those directions in that little icon, and if I exit out of editing, all of you, as it comes back on, because now I'm a teacher and I'm out of editing, you're going to see that little gray speech bubble with a play button. This is how you would. And the students would be able to play that audio up to 5 minutes per slide. This is really good for foreign language because you could read the Spanish to the kids or the French to the kids and they could hear the pronunciations. This is really good for science for the same reason, pronunciations. If you're teaching younger kids who might be low-level readers, you can read the directions to them so that they're not stuck on the directions and can actually do the content. So a lot of great uses for that audio. Again, it's 5 minutes per slide. So now I want to share this out to you guys so you have this slide deck. I'm going to click that 3-line menu and I'll see the option right here that says share. 2 options pop up. Give a copy of this lesson to other teachers. Let students access the lesson and work at their own pace. If you were going to share this in Google Drive to your students, or in Google Classroom, I mean, you would copy this link here, and when the students clicked on it, they could access the file in that student pace. So if you remember, I switched it over to student pace so you were able to go through the 3 slides on your own. This automatically goes to student pace. There is no way for the student to follow along with you if they go through that link. The only way the student follows you is if they go through hellosmart.com and join the class. Anytime you send them the direct link to the file, it is asynchronous and they are working on their own. I'm going to copy the teacher link and add it to the chat for you, because what that link is going to do is it is going to prompt you all to make a copy of today's workbook. So you will have all of these slides. You will have the directions. You will have what the different things are. My advice about using Google Slides and then importing it, it's all there for you on that presentation. So now that you've gone through student mode, I would like you guys to actually close out of those incognito windows, go back to your regular Google Drive, because I want you to try this yourself. So I want to give you time. I'm going to give you actually, we're going to go with a half hour. So at 11 o'clock, we're going to all come back together. So for half an hour, I will sit here. So if you have questions, come off of mute and ask those questions. But I would like you guys to try creating your own file. So we'll go through that again really quick, the how to do it. When you're in your Google Drive, you click New, More, and Lumio by Smart. That's going to open up the Smart Learning Suite website. Once you're here, you're going to click Add an Activity, and you can start however you want. So if you have like a Google Slides that you use with your kids every year, like on that first day of school, like a get to know you type activity, import it. If you have something that you just, want to just play around in for now, import it. But you would click that Import Resources, select something from either your Google Drive or your hard drive, add some interactivity, add some games, add some other stuff. We only looked at the one type of game, but if you come over to game-based activities, all of them have that little magnifying glass. So if you click on the magnifying glass, it'll show you a sample of the game. So add a game, add a shout out, add a handout, whatever you want to add, but take something you currently have and try to enhance it with some engaging activities for the kids.
Hi. So I imported my day one Google Slides.
Okay.
Then when I tried to edit them, that's when I was like having trouble with the lock feature, and it came up with a message that like if you unlock it, it's unlocked forever.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So yes and no. So when you import to when you import from Google Slides to Smart Learning Suite, so you mean like this lock up here?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to unlock it. I don't know why it says custom locks can't be reapplied. They can be reapplied. They're just not going to be reapplied in the exact same spot.
Oh.
So, and I say that because watch what happens now that I unlocked it. See how my entire slide is basically one giant picture?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it does when it converts. And the reason why I said you won't be able to put it back in that exact spot is because even though I'm trying to line up the corner, you're never going to line it up as perfectly. So it's not going to be exact, but then I can just click on it and I could relock it and it's relocked. If you need to change the text, like you notice a typo, you would have to go back into Google Slides and then you would have to click Add, Import. And if I was to go back to that same presentation that I'd already imported, where's my training folder? You would think they'd be in alphabetical order. It never does what I want. So like here, I have the Jamboard. So I'm just going to pull in a slide from that Jamboard folder. So then after I edited the spelling correction, I would re-import the Google Slides. eventually. Never goes fast when you're waiting. All right. And then I would unclick the select all, and I would just pick that one slide that I needed to re-import.
Okay.
I click add, and you'll see that right below the slide I was on, it imported that new slide. And then I could delete the old one. So yeah, unfortunately, once you import, you can't edit the slide itself. It basically is taking a picture and sticking it on there. That's also the reason why when I did that sample handout, if you remember, and I'm going to go back into edit, I had it, it says add the interactive parts once you get to SLSO. It's because if I had added all these words originally, they would not move. They would just be stuck there in the word bank.
How do you preview your shouted out? Like whenever I click edit, it like deletes the activity, but like.
Yeah, so unfortunately, in terms of like previewing it in the sense of like what the kids would see, you can't really hit preview. If you click finish editing and then you start your presentation, then you can see the shout out. So like I have, it says review results because this is the one that you guys did before. But this is where you would be able to see the activity and all of that type of stuff. So you'd have to go into the actual presentation, not the editing mode. When you're in edit, all you can do is change the question. Categories, I didn't really talk about that before, but what the categories would be is underneath the text box, you would get a pull down menu. So the kids could pull down the menu and send their questions to the left or the right of the board.
If you want to do it with multiple classes, would you just screenshot it and then reset it?
So we haven't talked about that yet, but the best practice, in my opinion at least, is to actually make a separate copy for each class. So when you have like, so I'm in my presentation, I'm going to go back out to that main screen. If you click the three dots, you make a copy. And then after it makes the copy, I would just change the name so that like one name is period 1, one's period 2, or however you want to organize them. But I would make a separate copy of the notebook for each section.
Okay.
And that's also going to help you when you go to grade it. So if I come in here and I go back to our handout, see how right now my list is just a couple names? Mm-hmm. If I had like 5 classes of 25 each, I'd have 125 names down this list. So by having a separate file for each class, it just helps you on both ends. It keeps organized and it makes it easier for you to restart something for one class without deleting the work from the other class.
So one more question. With the shouted out, can the question only be a certain length? Because like I copied and pasted my question in. That's why I was trying to preview it, because I don't know if the whole question went in or if it only can be so long.
I honestly am not sure, but what I would say is you don't actually even have to put a question. You could verbally tell the kids, all right, I want, like this, the way I did it. I said, all right, I want you guys to type up, just say hello or something. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a pre-typed question. You can, I think there might be a character limit on student responses though. I'm not positive. Like, I've never had anyone say, hey, there's not enough room to type an answer, but I've also always had like short. I'd say use the Twitter rule of thumb. If it can fit in a tweet, it should fit in the box.
Would you say do you import a Jamboard right into here? Like, is it better to use Jamboard as its own thing, or do you import a Jamboard into the activity?
So unfortunately, you can't import Jamboards into Smart Learning Suite. The reason we wanted to start talking Jamboard first is because Jimmy and I had this discussion that a lot of you are very comfortable in the Google environment. So we wanted to show you some Google options.
Okay.
And that's kind of what the Jamboard is. It's the Google option. If you're not comfortable moving into Smart Learning Suite, you can use Jamboard, because like I showed you with Google Slides, you can't use a pen. There's no interactivity with it really. So Jamboard is that Google option if you want a whiteboard that's collaborative. But yeah, unfortunately, no, you can't import Jamboards to Smart Learning Suite at this time. It could be coming. You never know with their engineers. All right, so it is 11 o'clock right now. How many of you are having fun exploring this, want a few more minutes? How many of you want to move on and see what else we can do? So let's see where the group is at in their thought process right now.
I'm good to move forward.
Kindergarten's ready to go forward.
Awesome. I love how the way you said that, so enthusiastic too. You're like, kindergarten's ready.
That's right, damn it.
Love it. All right. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go back into the presentation that I've been working on with you guys, because I want to show you a couple more things that we haven't looked at yet. So, and as an FYI, I already shared the presentation to you, but after we do a couple more things, you might want to re-click that link, because the stuff I'm adding now, you're not going to have. So just an FYI, I will remind you of that again before we leave out of here. All right, so I am going to click on the plus sign, and I am going to go to a game-based activity, because this is my favorite. How many of you play Kahoot with your students? Okay. Monster Quiz is similar to Kahoot, but slightly different. So I could add in multiple choice questions, and I am so creative with my questions. Can you tell how creative I am with my questions? The reason I'm doing this is I want you to see something. I typed in my question. If I hit next, I only have one question. You have to hit add question. And you also have to check the correct answer. It's really important, because again, this is the type of thing if you don't hit the questions, it's not going to correct.
Can you go back and edit if you hit add a question and
So if I
choose the correct answer?
Yes, so I just hit previous to go. So this was my preview of my questions. And if I click previous, it takes me back. So if I go here to like, well, what color is Big Bird? I can go in and change the answer. By the way, I learned a very interesting thing on Twitter the other day. So as you all know, social media teaches us everything. Big Bird is not yellow everywhere. Apparently in Spain, he's blue. I think in Australia he was like an orange, and in Mexico he's green with orange. He kind of looks like oh my God, I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. What is the mascot for the Phillies? The Fanatic. Oh my God, I seriously was drawing a blank. I couldn't think of the name Fanatic. But the Big Bird in Mexico looks like the Fanatic. He's green with like orange feathers coming off his head. So apparently the answer is not always yellow. Just an FYI. But yeah, you can create any questions. You hit next, and then you can pick. You can have the spring, you could have the summer, so they're at the beach. Smart's mascots are these monsters. They do have names. I don't remember all their names. I know they have them, so I apologize for not knowing them. But what happens now is if you were to go in to play this game, and I'm going to go back into that preview mode for a second so that you can see the picture of it. What happens is, Suzanne, I will answer that question in one moment because I got to read it a little more clearly. So what happens is on your board, so on your teacher display, you would see these little monsters, and they're currently in their kind of like their egg. So the dragon is breaking out of a rock of lava. The frozen guy is breaking out of a block of ice. So they're all breaking out of their egg. The student devices will see the questions, and they'll see their own character. So again, the teacher board is going to show the competition. The students would only see their own information. I like this better than Kahoot because, first of all, I didn't know until like last month that Kahoot now has the questions on the phones or on the computers so that the kids aren't doing this. But I like it because when the kids get the answer wrong, the answer will repeat itself. So the students are working at their own timing. They're not all going to be on the same question at the same moment. They go through the whole set of questions. The scoring, not going to lie, I don't know the algorithm, but it takes into account the speed and the accuracy. So if the kid takes 2 tries to answer the question, it's going to give them the point value for a second attempt, not the first attempt. So the scores can change until the very end. The other reason I like this is because you as the teacher can go in after and see who answered what, but it does not save. So just be aware that while you are on the screen with the kids, you can go in and see like class review, but it's not going to provide you with information to go back and review it later on your own to say, all right, 80% of my kids got this question wrong. You have to either do a screenshot of the data or write it down while you still have it up on the board. As soon as you exit out of the game, you lose all that data. There is another program that I'll show you on Smart Learning Suite that you can get the students' answers, but it's not going to be as graphically fun for the kids. It's not as competitive, I should say. So Monster Quiz, again, is just a comparison to Kahoot. The one called Responses. Where is it? Where is Responses? Oh, it's, I forgot, in Smart Learning Suite, it's over here. So Responses. Same idea, you make your questions. I'm just going to put the one question. But this time, the students would all be working independently. At the end, when you hit end as a teacher, a little link pops up on the bottom. So let me go out of edit mode for a second and I'll show you this. Or at least I'll try to show you this. So I start it for the class. It would pop up on all of their devices. They'd answer the questions. When I click end, right here, export the results. It will actually give me an Excel spreadsheet. It will color code those student results. So in that Excel spreadsheet, correct answers are green, incorrect answers are red. It gives me the percentage, it gives me the point value, and as a teacher, it just gives me a quick glance. I could tell every question that was right, wrong, all of that. So if you want the kids to play a competitive game, Monster Quiz. If you want to get assessment material so you can actually go in and reteach or grade or any of those type of things, Responses. All right, so Suzanne said, is there a speech to text option for adding questions from the board? No. Unfortunately, if you are at the board, the only option you have now I have it set on my computer so I could pull up the computer one. The only option to type on the board is going to be that built-in keyboard. Now there is an option, so what I'm going to do really quick is I am going to switch my screen share and go back to the board so you can see something different. So let me unshare, and then I'm going to reshare my smartboard. Okay. All right. So if I'm at the board and I go into edit, what I'm going to do is I have to first of all get my finger pen. So to get that hand, if you click on the blue box, you'll see it says show smart tools, hide smart tools. So I want to show them. And the reason, in that toolbox, see how I have this arrow with the letter A? Actually, let me put a new question first. All right. So I want to write my question. So I write my question. Notice it kind of got my handwriting, but not perfectly. So I want to fix that. Apparently it really doesn't understand the O. It thinks it's a 0. So not perfect, but it gets there eventually. I hit the check mark, and then it says touch where you want the text. I touch, and it pulls my text right in there. So no, you can't do voice to text, but you can write to text. Again, I have this little tool right here where I have a virtual keyboard on my Mac. Of course, it went to my desktop instead of my smartboard because I have the 2 screens, but I could drag that over. Or it just disappeared on me. There it is. All right, so then I would have my keyboard. And they have this on the PC too. I don't know if the Chromebook has a virtual keyboard, but Macs and PCs both do. You just have to enable it. So for the Mac, if you click that open keyboard preferences, it opens up your settings. And one of the setting options, if I could find where I shortcuts maybe. I've had this for so long, I don't even remember how I got it. But it is definitely something in there in the keyboard settings. I am noticing I have dictation. So if your computer has dictation, that could work as well, probably. I would have to play with that though. I don't really know if that would work for you or not. But there are different ways that you can get the material on if you are not sitting at your laptop. Any other questions while I'm standing up at the board before I go back to the laptop? Didn't mean to zoom in so you could see my soda cans and stuff on the desk. All right. But yeah, so again, there's just a lot of different things you can do, a lot of different ways you can play with that. Are there any other questions that came up while you guys have been playing? Okay. So we're going to go in now and I'm going to show you some of those editing features that I was talking about that you might be interested in. So the first, I'm going to click the plus sign and I'm going to just do a blank page. When you are putting things anywhere on the slide, so like let's say I come in here and I do a search and I want a picture of a schoolhouse. All right, some of these do not look like schoolhouses. They look like really fancy buildings. All right, so I'm going to pick a picture of a schoolhouse and I'm going to resize it Now, if I want to make sure that that school does not move, I am going to click on the arrow and I select the option that says lock. Now you'll notice I can move my text, but I can't move that picture. Next, what I'm going to do, because I want, oops, I didn't mean to click that plus sign. I'm going to click on the picture and I'm going to look for a picture of a stick figure, because I just want a basic person right now. So I'm going to take that stick figure. I'm going to resize that stick figure, make him nice and small so that he would fit in the house, in the schoolhouse. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to click that down arrow and I'm going to hit infinite cloner. Watch this. Now I have as many stick figures as I can ever want. It will never run out. The only thing I want to point out is, what do you notice about this stick figure?
It comes with the white around it.
It comes with the white box. That is never fun, but I wanted you to see that. So I purposely found like a cheesy picture knowing that would happen with it. If you want to make sure that your kids are dragging, like let's say, I've seen some teachers do something like this where they'll start school in the morning. I'm going to just go to a new blank page. So they might do, it says like lunch count, and then like add your lunch choice. All right, so I have my 2 text boxes. I'm going to lock them so that the kids don't accidentally move them when they're touching the board. And then I am going to go grab a picture of a taco, because you know the cafeteria makes pretty good tacos, right? That taco also has that white box. What I can do is I can go to do an image search in Google. So images.google.com, I'm going to type in taco. And then this is why I wanted to show you this. If I click tools, color, transparent is an option. So now when I click on that taco, do you see how it has that checkerboard behind it? Right click, save image as. And now I'm going to come back here to my picture, select an image to upload. And this taco does not have a border around it. See how it goes right on top of the other option? So that is how you have to, if you want to find a picture that does not have one of those like white boxes, that is how you would have to do that. But now I could drag these tacos. Oh, look at Taco Tuesday. I wonder if that's why I picked taco. I was probably just thinking Taco Tuesday. But there you go. So that is how you would find the picture that doesn't have that white border around it, and it makes that infinite cloner much better. But like I said, I have seen schools do lunch count like this where the kids would drag the meal. Or maybe you'll have like a picture of a taco, a picture of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and the kids would drag the stick figure so that you can take a nice quick count of how many ordered what. Unless you're the type of school that needs to have the names, then I could show you even more work on your end to set it up, but you could set a slide that had all like 20 names. But once you set that up the first time, don't reinvent the wheel. 3 dots, duplicate, and then you can just add the date.
Is there a way to make the transparent feature the default setting?
No, so if you remember, I had to go into Google to find that transparent picture.
Okay.
So unfortunately, in Smart Learning Suite, the image search doesn't let you, you won't even know if it's transparent or not until after you've like picked it. Now, obviously, if it has like a dark background, you know that that's not transparent. But like these white ones, yeah, that has like a background to it. You're not going to be able to see it, unfortunately. But the infinite cloner has a lot of really good uses. If you remember when we looked at those manipulatives, Smart pre-made some of these manipulatives for you. So like this one right here with counting coins, every one of these coins is an infinite cloner. If I click on the nickel, you see how it has the infinity sign. If I click on this nickel, it does not. That's because these are all infinite cloners. Another thing with Smart Learning Suite that I want you to be aware of is notice I cannot select multiple shapes at once. So if you need to delete stuff, you're going to have to delete every single one independently. So be aware of that because it does get a little obnoxious if you test something and then realize, oh, I got to delete it all. But now let's say that I don't want to confuse my students by having 2 pennies and 2 nickels and 2 dimes. I can click on it, click on the infinity logo, disable it, and then I have the ability to delete it. So even if you use one of these pre-made templates, you can still modify and customize them. I have an interesting trivia question for you guys. Does anyone notice something different about the penny than the other 3 coins? And I'm not talking about copper versus silver. Does anyone see something interesting about that?
Well,
The way
it faces,
they're facing.
yeah, it faces the opposite direction.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard the reason Lincoln faces the other way is because since he was assassinated, he's looking toward his shooter instead of looking out toward the crowd like everyone else. I don't know if that's true or not as to why Lincoln is the only one facing the right, but it's very interesting because if you look at the dollar bills, it's the same thing. Assassinated presidents are looking right, and the ones that died of natural causes are looking left. So it's very interesting, but just like I said, kind of random trivia. But then you, like I said, so there you have your coins. You can go in and do all of this. You can come here to questions and reflections. And this is going to give you some pre-made templates. So if you want a 1-minute paper, you click on this and it automatically made it a handout. But again, you can customize all of this. So click edit and I can change this. So instead of saying use the text and images to share everything you know or wonder about today's topic, I unlock the pre-made text and I can change it to say, instead of saying today's topic, I could say about Lumio. Then I relock the text, convert it back to an activity, and now I have an assignment to give my students. So a lot of great stuff, a lot of interactivity, and a lot of different ways that you can add stuff. We didn't look at YouTube videos yet, so I want to show you what happens when you add a video. I didn't mean to type in Smart Learning Suite Pirates. That's interesting. I wanted this video right here. What is Smart Learning Suite? So when I add the video, you're going to notice in my thumbnails, it just puts the YouTube logo. And on my slide, it puts the video with the word play. When you hit play, the video will go full screen. What's really cool about this is, did anybody notice that when I hit play, what were we missing? What was missing when I hit play on a YouTube video?
The ads before.
The ads before. Smart has somehow broken the YouTube algorithm. I don't think they really broke it, but they got past it. So when you embed a YouTube video, it skips the advertisements. Now, you will notice when I hit pause, I still get more videos. When I get to the end, it still recommends what to watch next, but it stopped the advertisements. There are some downfalls to this. The only videos you can embed are YouTube, and they must be public YouTube videos. If you have an unlisted video, so I'm going to go for sample really quick because I can't remember the link to it. Let's see, where's a crazy video of me? Here's a crazy video of me. So this video is unlisted, and I know it's called Positioning the Streaming Kit. So even if I take that video's name and I try to submit that one, it will not find my video. If I come here and I go directly to the URL, it will not find that video because it will only find publicly listed videos. So if it is private, you cannot do that. Now, what the alternative is to just put the URL, and you can't even add a hyperlink in here. If you want to create a hyperlink, you have to actually do that back in Google Slides. But you would add it as a hyperlink, and then it would just open it into a new slide. But if I was to just, like, for example, paste the link, now I have that link right there. But when the kids go to view that slide, that is not a hyperlink for the students. All right, so any questions about the infinite cloner or locking? Like why would you use it? When would you use it? Okay. This is a very quiet bunch, isn't it? Or is it because it's the end of June and you guys are just all summer, ready for summer? Little of both. Okay. So I've pretty much shown you all the basics. A lot of what's coming next is just the exploring. So when you click that finish editing, you're going to notice in presentation mode, you lose that preview to the side. But if you click on the number between the arrows, you can see your previews. You can duplicate the slide straight from here. You can delete slides straight from here. You can add a whiteboard or a shout out, but nothing else can really be edited in presentation mode. The share link gets you that teacher copy and that student copy. So again, I'd already posted this teacher link. I'm going to put it in the chat again, just because I did add those couple of slides if you wanted to have a copy of the full thing. The other thing you're going to notice is you have a link that says make a copy. I talked to, I believe it was Sarah. I'm not positive because she turned her camera off. I believe it was Sarah that I had spoken to during, yeah, it was Sarah, during like that 30-minute break that I gave you guys. And she had asked like best practices, like, well, what if I do a shout out with first period and now I want to do it with second period? How do I save first period's work? So the answer to that is best practice is make a copy for every one of your sections. So you can do that when you're already in the presentation. You click make a copy and you're seeing right here, it says making a copy, processing. It's going to go, it's going to make all the slides. And then you have the edit option. I always say edit before you start because you want to make sure you change this name so that you know which file is which. But now we're in period 2 and we're in their notebook. If I click my 3 menu and I click end lesson, you're going to see that I now have my original presentation. I have period 1 and I have period 2. So the reason you want to make all these copies, when I go back to the original that you guys were in today, and I go to my handout, maybe this wasn't the original. I think maybe I changed the name of period 1. I'm guessing that's where you guys did it because I didn't delete anyone's work. Nope. Huh, interesting. Should have left your names there. Oh no, you know what it was? I went back into edit mode, so that deleted all your work. So that's another thing not to do. Do not go into edit mode. But I can come here and I can pull up the student's work and I can see it all. I can grade it all. But if I had a huge class if I had first period had 20 kids and second period had 23 kids and third period had 26, I'd end up with a list of like 150 names on that one file. I did want to just go back into edit for a second just to show you what I said I did. So here I am, my students worked on it, but if I click edit, it even warns me it's going to delete all of the activity results, meaning it's going to delete all my student work as soon as I hit edit. Now, even when I reconvert it back to a handout, everything the kids did was lost. So do not re-edit once students have started working. If you need to create a new slide to give them better directions, create a new slide, but do not delete the one they were already on because it will delete all of their work. Notice now I have no students on my list. So that is a really big one. The other thing, the workspaces. These can only be started when everyone is logged in. Now notice I have my groups now. If the kids were to go do this on their own later, they can go back and finish. They can work with their partners, but they cannot join a class late. They cannot be added to a team, and the teacher cannot create another team. Again, if something happens and you have latecomers, click the 3 dots, click duplicate, and now what you're going to have is a second copy of that exact file, and you can go and do like 2 teams. All right, here are my 2 kids that came into class late. Sue is already here. I don't need to add her to a team. I create the new team, and now those 2 students would have a workspace. When I go to grade it, I would have 2 slides. So that is how you can get the kids that come in late into another team, but you can't add them to a group once the group has started. And I appreciate Joanne, Lori, and Sue for not logging out of my guest as my guest because I still had some student names in there to demonstrate that with. All right. The last thing on this menu I want you to notice is request a feature. Smart really listens to teachers. So let's say I want to be able to save a shout out. I type in the search engine, save a shout out, and it shows me that nobody else has come up with that idea yet. I could then type it out. I'm surprised no one's come up with this one yet. I log in with my Google account because they always make you log in when you're posting questions. I post the idea. I'm going to try looking for one that probably has more people. So we're going to search for co-teacher. And you're going to notice as soon as I type in the word co-teacher, 2 potential ideas came up. Co-teacher, multiple teachers. We desperately need the option to add another teacher to the class. I teach with another teacher with younger grades, and it's difficult for them to log out of one class, log into another. Co-share with a mentoring, a teacher in training. Is there a way to have an in-service teacher have access? Well, if you like that idea, click vote. Here's why this is important. Every time the smart engineers finish what they're doing and don't have anything to do, and they're sitting there in their office in Canada and they're twiddling their thumbs, well, their bosses, their administrators tell them to come here, and they go through and they'll look for like hot ideas. Those are the ideas that have the most votes, or maybe they'll look for the top ideas. People would like to be able to organize. Teachers would like to have multiple class IDs. So all of these ideas. And you'll notice right here, this one says planned. That means that someone from SMART saw that idea and said, hey, we're doing that. Or here's an idea somebody wrote under review. They're exploring ways to export data. And actually, I'm going to like that because that's kind of what I was asking about for the shout out. We're exploring ways to export data from the activities. So you go in, you click vote, and again, that is how SMART figures out what to do next. And it's really easy to find that website because you just are in any presentation, you click the 3-line menu, and request a feature is down at the bottom. You also have the help, which brings you to smart support. I like the training better. So if you go out of your lesson, I think this training website is much better organized. So the help page literally is just a list of things, whereas the training page has thumbnails, it's organized, definitely a better option for teachers. Okay. So any questions at this point? Or do you guys really feel like you just need to explore it a bit and try some stuff out on your own?
I definitely feel I need to do some exploring on my own.
Okay.
But Cori, I have to tell you, the only reason I didn't log out is I don't know how to log out of your class.
No, that's totally fine. So let me ask you this.
Sorry.
You obviously no, it's fine. You obviously were logged in as a guest. Did you do the incognito window like I told you?
Yes, I did.
Did you X out of the incognito window?
I thought I did.
Okay, if the incognito window is like minimized on your computer, that could be a reason you're logged in. So that's one thing. Normally, if you close the incognito window, it should have booted you out. It should have booted you automatically. If I click on my silhouette, I could actually click edit and I could boot my students.
Oh, okay.
So I can kick you out.
Feel free.
I just did. The reason you might want to boot your students out is, let's say your first period students forgot to leave and second period's coming in and now this class list has like 40 names. Well, you click edit, you hit select all, and you boot them all out at the end of class so that way the next class can come in. Because your kids are going to be hitting login with Google, it will never lose their work unless you as the teacher, and I say this because I've done it before, if you as the teacher click on the restart button, it warns you it's going to erase all the information. But if you click reset, your students cannot access it anymore because you've cleared their answers, you deleted their work. So that is, the students can't like delete themselves. Even if they leave the class, their work is still saved. Only the teacher can delete the assignment. All right. Any other questions coming up or things you have questions about? I really like to leave a lot of Q&A time. I know like these webinars, honestly, when I do like in-person training, I tend to give you more try it yourself time, and I'd be walking around, and that's where a lot of the good questions come from. So with the webinars, I'm really relying on you guys to ask these questions verbally or put them in the chat box, either way. But what is something that might be confusing you or something else that you need a little clarification on? All right. So the final thing I'm going to talk to you about then before we finish up is the benefits of Jamboard versus Smart Learning Suite. So both have their pros and cons, and that's what I want to just talk to you about here at the end, because I did get some questions earlier about, well, when will we use Jamboard and when will we use Smart Learning Suite? So Smart Learning Suite is going to give you those games. It's going to give you all of that. Jamboard, and if I go back into my Jamboard to show you, with the Jamboard, you can create all of those slides, so just like Smart Learning Suite, but you have that ability to share it. You can change the editing ability, so you can have your kids working on it in class, but you can change them to view only when they leave, so that way they can't be like, I don't want to say cheating, but if you kind of have the kids working as groups, you don't have one group working at home when another group might not have access to the computer. So that way you keep that equality that they can only work in the classroom. So you can lock it down and unlock it and relock it. The Jamboard gives you the ability to move stuff. So does the Smart Learning Suite. But it's different. With Jamboard, you can get each kid their own copy. You can have them all collaborate. It's going to save it in their Google Drive. So if you remember with Smart Learning Suite, I mentioned that if the teacher deletes it, the kids lose the work. With a Jamboard, if the kids made their own copy, it's saved in their Google Drive, which means only they can delete it, not the teacher. So a lot of different pros and cons. They did just change it, so now you can add custom backgrounds. That just came out like 2 or 3 months ago. So you can go into your Google Photos. Wow, I take really bad photos for some reason. But like you can go into your photos and you could add a background. And now you have a picture as a background. So all different things that you can do in the Jamboard. You can't really put a background in Smart Learning Suite. You can start in Google Drive in your Google Slides and convert it. So it's really what's going to be best for you and your students. I think for the older kids, Jamboard is better, but I think for the elementary, for like the kindergartners especially, when you have those kindergartners, you're not going to have to send them everywhere. They're not going to have to click on a link to go to another tab, to go to another browser. If you're in Smart Learning Suite with the kindergartners, all you do is you tell the kids, go to hellosmart.com. Your class code doesn't change. When your kids are logging in with Google, that first time, yes, they're going to have to type in that 6-digit code. But next time you have a student go to Hello Smart, and I'm going to unshare my screen and reshare my screen quickly. So I am logging in as a different user now. Oh. And of course, this user's never been in a class. Go figure. Oh, it has. So when I logged in, this is my personal Gmail account. So I logged in to my class through my Google account, and you'll see that it says select a class, and my class is listed. But if I click join new class, I can type in someone else's 6-digit code. So your students, every time they log into hellosmart.com, they don't have to retype your 6-digit code every time. They are going to be able to just click on your name and get back into your class. So that is just a really important thing to know. The difference between Smart Learning Suite and Google Jamboard is, especially for those younger kids, Smart Learning Suite is going to force them to be on the same slide as you. You're going to have the ability to put those audio instructions. So if you have kindergartners, you can give them an assignment and you can give the directions as an audio clip. They can rewind and re-listen as many times as they need to. They're not going to have to remember passwords because they log in with Google. They're not going to have to remember to go to Google Classroom and then go to Google Drive and then click this and then click that. Smart Learning Suite is going to keep it all right there in that hellosmart.com domain. So again, it's really going to be your preference based on your grade level and based on your comfort levels. And that is something else that I had spoken with Jimmy about, is we wanted to give you the taste of both, but we want you to kind of make a decision, because as you know, it is easier when everyone's kind of doing the same thing rather than one teacher being on this program and one on this. And so when I come in August, we're going to go a lot more in depth. We're going to go through stuff again. We're going to go to the boards themselves. So think about the ways that you would use the different softwares. Talk with your grade level partners, talk with your subject level partners, and see what you guys think is best for you. And then that's what we can kind of gear, unless Jimmy wants to correct me. I'm pretty sure this is how we had been discussing it, Jimmy. So I apologize if I'm totally off base.
Well, when you come back, it's going to have to be, another training, because the people that are in right now won't be participating in the training
Oh,
first
I
day.
didn't realize it. I thought the training in August was going to be more people, but
It's going to be a lot more people, but it'll be people that weren't trained at all here.
okay. Gotcha. All right. See, this is why it's a good thing Jimmy's on the call because my notes, I messed up then. All right. So, when you guys are coming back in August, if you do have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you're not going to be in my session in August. I am always here for you. My biggest thing is I don't leave people alone. Like, if you have questions that come up, you can email me, you can tweet me. I'm always around, I'm always available. But it's what is going to work best for you. And with these trainings, it's a lot of stuff. I know I kind of filled your head with all of these products and all of these different tools, and it is going to take a lot of, I don't want to say playtime, but it's going to take a lot of exploring to really figure out what you need to do. So as you start to explore, reach out if you have more questions.